Welcome to another episode of RELICS Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting, relic, and treasure hunting. You can also call into the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any questions or comments you might have. RELICS Radio is also syndicated on the Cutting Edge Radio Network and is broadcast around the world. You're listening to RELICS Radio of Southern Kentucky. And you are listening to another episode of RELICS Radio coming to you out of Southern Kentucky, right along the beautiful Cumberland River here in Southern Kentucky. I want to welcome all of our live listeners that have joined us on Spreaker. Also want to welcome all of our listeners that are listening through our syndication, which is the Cutting Edge Radio Network. And we know that not everybody can listen live, and so we want to reach out to all of you that will be catching the archive wherever you get your podcast at. I was noticing on some of the stats that I ran this past week, and it really surprised me. I thought we would have more listeners on Spreaker than we would any of these other podcast providers, but really Apple Podcast is we have more listeners that listen to the show through that than anywhere. So special introduction to you guys and a shout out to y'all. And by the way, in January, we set a record of listenership. We had more listeners in January than we had ever had. Now, disclaimer, January had 5 Thursdays, but we have the possibility, depending on how many people that come into this show tonight, to match that record, and we've only got 4 Thursdays in February, so that is phenomenal. Let's see, what else? Also, I'm starting to link my history clips on YouTube, and I'm doing that every Saturday. That's probably, most of those are about a 2.5 minute clip on different items. Those of you that watch me on YouTube, Diggin with 7, you know that. But I'm running those on Saturday, and I've got just about a year's worth of those. So go and check those out. And also, I was brought into the Ring Finders organization this week, metal detecting specialist in various areas that are in a directory to go out and find rings. So if you got a lost ring that is around, wherever you're at, just go to the Ring Finders, and you'll be able to look at the directory and see the closest metal detecting specialist in your area, and give them a shout, give them a call, and see what you can do about recovering that ring. And I didn't get to it last week because we had so much jammed into last week's show. But want to remind you that the first annual Middle Tennessee Digging Bash is going to be Saturday, May the 9th. That's going to be in Shelbyville, Tennessee. Now, the easiest way for you to find out about that hunt is to go to the RELICS Radio Facebook group page and just scroll down through the post, and you'll see the first annual Middle Tennessee Digging Bash post. And it actually has a PDF in the comments under that you can click on, and that is your entry form. You can fill that out, and it tells you where to mail your entry fee and everything in. Or you can call Paul Klippa at 931-691-7598. And as far as I know, that's everything that I wanted to say here tonight before we get into the show. I'm excited about this show because we have Mike and Jordan Keefer of AquaLand Relics. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Welcome.
So glad to have you guys. Where are you guys located at?
Western Maryland.
Western Maryland. Y'all got some history up there then, don't you?
Yes, sir, we do.
That's
A lot of it.
Yeah, that's great. Getting started on everything here, Mike, I guess I'll just start with you because, I'm the old man in the room, and I guess you're the next oldest in the room. I don't think you're 151 years old, but anyway, how'd you get into this business of treasure hunting and metal detecting and trying to go out and dig history out of the ground? How'd all that come about?
It started, my brother was 8 years younger than me, but he got a metal detector for Christmas. So, he was looking for somebody to tag along with him here and there. And so I borrowed a friend's bounty hunter Tracker 4 and pretty much found my first Civil War bullet one of the first couple of days out. After that, I was hooked. Hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, that will do it. Do you guys have a lot of Civil War activity in your area there?
In our hometown, we had a little skirmish, but we're probably, 40 miles away from 3 major battlefields, something like that. Yeah. So we're right there in the thick of things, yes. Yeah. And, that's one of my passions is Civil War stuff. There's nothing like pulling out a mini ball and holding it in your hand and knowing that you're the first person to touch that in over 150 years. Just doesn't anything match that up. And then I know that you found some other stuff, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But how about you, Jordan? How'd you get started? Did your dad drag you into all this?
Well, he didn't necessarily drag me into it, but I remember one time I was on a float trip with a buddy, and I just like taking videos. So I was taking a video while we was floating down the river. Needless to say, this was a flooded river. Probably wasn't one of my smartest ideas, but I ended up dropping my phone in the river, and I thought it was gone. So I called my dad, off my buddy's phone. I said, "Hey, you talk a lot about this Garrett AT Pro. Let's see what it can do. I want you to come up here and see if you can find my cell phone." And not saying that he was, too happy about it, but he more than willingly came up, and sure enough, probably 5 minutes in the water, and he had a slamming hit, and sure enough, there was my iPhone 10X. So yeah, I was more than convinced. Hey, these things are no joke.
Yeah. Now, did it still work though? Were you able to dry it out?
Absolutely, and that was the biggest shock. I mean, it worked perfectly. I put it in some rice, dried it out a little bit, and I mean, it was on from then. Well,
I tell you what, it's kind of hit and miss sometimes, and it depends on how long that they are in the water. If they're not in too awful long, I've heard of a lot of people that have had really good luck, using rice and drying them out. How deep was that river? How deep was your phone?
Well, at the time, the river's normally only maybe 2 foot deep in that section, but like I said, it was flooded. So I'd say maybe 4 foot deep. I mean, it came up past my chest. Yeah. And Dad's a little bit shorter than me. No offense, Dad, but I mean, it was higher than his chest. That's for sure. Yeah.
But workable, I mean, that's a good working area right there. And you say you found that with AT Pro?
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
That's what I found it with.
I tell you what, AT Pro is a great machine. I know that the technology is advancing. I know that there are all kinds of great machines out there. I own some that are newer than the AT Pro. I just cannot get away from it, though. Just as an overall, good machine. You can use the thing in the water. You can use it on land. If it starts raining, you don't have to worry about it, I mean, just keep on hunting and everything. But what about the evolution of you guys on metal detectors? you said you started out, Mike, with a bounty hunter. What did you go to from that, and just bring me on up to date?
Well, I went from the bounty hunter Tracker 4. I only had it for 2 months. It was a borrowed one from my friend. Well, like I said, I got into Civil War, and then I got the Garrett AT Pro. I hunted with it for 6 years, and I'm like you. I thought there's no other detector besides Garrett AT Pro. I mean, I'm a Garrett AT Pro man, no way anything else. Well, then the Naka Macro Simplex came out, and I thought, I'll get it maybe for a YouTube channel. Maybe it'll help, bring some subscribers in. But let me tell you something. I have fell in love with this Simplex. It's all it was built out to be. It's a good little machine.
That's what I'm hearing, and I've used one just a little bit. Our metal detecting sponsor, Tim Henderson, he sells those, and he has sold quite a few of those. But he has them, and whenever we hunt together, well, I've used his a time or two. Not to say that I'm experienced, because I'm nowhere near experienced with it. You could probably 15 minutes is probably the most that I've had the opportunity to use it. But coming from an AT Pro, what's the difference? Are the numbers anywhere near the same? I mean, did you have a hard time transitioning from the AT Pro to the Simplex Plus?
That's a good question. I used Jordan's a couple of times. I used his Mind Lab, and I could just roll with it. But I tell you what, I picked up this Simplex, and I can tell anybody out there right now, especially if you're coming from the AT Pro, it's going to be a little struggle. I ain't going to lie to you. There was many a times I said, I'm done with this machine. I'm done with this machine. I can't figure it out. But, once you learn the machine, you start messing with the different controls on the machine and stuff like that, and you get comfortable with the machine. I'm telling you, it'll work for you. I'll guarantee anybody that if you work with it, you're going to like this machine. There's no doubt in my mind.
What about you, Jordan? Have you used Simplex any? What's your thoughts on it?
I really haven't used it too much, but I know from the hunts that we go on, I'm always rocking the Equinox 600, and that Simplex, it's hanging right in there with me, and I just can't see how. I mean, it doesn't seem possible, but sometimes I'd like to say it's got a better advantage than I have. It's a good machine.
Yeah. Have you guys ever compared a signal that's in the ground, say the Simplex or the Equinox, one of you hear a signal and then call the other over and say, what do you think this sounds like? Have you ever made a comparison like that?
Yes, we actually got video today.
And what was the result of it?
We did. I mean, sometimes the Simplex comes out ahead. Other times it's the Equinox. But, for the most part, Jordan will say, well, I'll dig what you got there, and I'm digging what he's got. So usually averages out pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And, of course, numbers are going to be different. I noticed that whenever I got the Equinox, the numbers were completely different, really. But I had the MindLab CTX, and I've still got a MindLab E-Track, and the numbers on the Simplex, on the Equinox, they're very close to that, and so you just don't have those first numbers, you don't have your Ferris number, whereas on the CTX and on the E-Track, you've got a Ferris number and then a conductivity number. All you have on the Equinox is a conductivity number, and that's all you've got on the Simplex or the AT Pro or most all of the VLF machines, is that. And but it's always hard whenever you go from one machine to another machine. You made a good point there a while ago. It's just sticking with it, learning what it's telling you, digging signals that are repeatable, and then you learn what they sound like, right?
Exactly. You're right on key.
Yep. Hey, we need to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back. I'm excited to announce that Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors has rejoined RELICS Radio as a sponsor. As a multi-line dealer, Tim carries several brands of detectors and accessories, and he's ready to serve all of your metal detecting needs. I'll give you his contact info in a minute. So why did RELICS Radio go back to Tim Henderson as our dealer sponsor? 3 very important reasons. First, I often hunt with Tim, so I know firsthand that he uses what he sells, and he prides himself with great customer service and support. Second, Tim goes the extra mile in helping the new detectorist determine exactly what they need to get started. He will not try and sell you some high-priced product if that's not what you need. And at the same time, Tim can serve the seasoned detectorist with their upgrades or new product questions. And finally, Tim won't leave you hanging after the sale. He's just a phone call away for any questions or specialized training needs. So, you can call Tim directly at 615-948-4611, or you can email him at tjhenderson@comcast.net. And my buddy Tim is a great guy. If you need a detector, any of these that we've been talking about, you need an AT Pro, you need a MindLab Equinox, you need a Nocta Micro Simplex, give him a call. He's got them all, and he's got more than that, too. And he will fix you up. It was a guy that reached out to me today, and I gave him Tim's number and told him that he just needed to talk to him. And I said, he'll walk you through and tell you exactly what you need. And I'm on tonight with Mike and Jordan Keefer, the AquaLand Relic guys. We've been talking about detectors. Jordan, what coils do you guys use? Do you just use the standard coils on your machines, or are you into the bigger coils or the smaller coils?
I rock the big coil for the most part. I believe it's like an 11-inch coil, but then I also got the one smaller than that. I believe it's like a 6-inch coil.
Yeah.
If I'm running in.
Yeah. You like that coil? You like that little 6-inch? I lost you there, Jordan.
Yeah, I don't hear him.
I don't hear him either. He's still showing that he's on. What about you, Mike? What coils are you using on that Simplex?
Well, right now they only have the standard coil.
That's right.
But when the AT Pro, I don't know if you've ever tried that little shrew coil. It's like a little football shape. I love that thing for trashy areas.
The little snake coil?
It's not. It's made by Shrew.
Okay.
But it's shaped like an oval, and I just love that thing.
Yeah, I've got one, and I don't know who makes that. In fact, I got mine from Tim Henderson, but it is it's called the snake coil. And yeah, man, you get in confined areas, or you get in a really, really trashy spot, and man, that little coil will work. And obviously, you're going to lose a little bit of depth, but not that much. Do you think?
I just the other day I had a Mercury dime, and I found it at 8 inches with that little tiny coil. So, to me, you can't beat that.
No, no, you can't beat it. And what about the 5x8? Did you use the 5x8 on? And I'm trying to call. Jordan, are you back on now?
Oh, don't worry, I'm back.
Okay, yes, good, sir. good. We were talking about. I was talking to you about the coils, and I'll get back to you in just a minute, Mike. But I dropped off with Jordan, so I want to talk to him. What do you think about that 6-inch coil on that Equinox?
Well, I tell you what, I had a nice little conversation going on with myself, apparently. But as I was saying, that 6-inch coil, though, guys, it's the real deal. I mean, you took that into a trashy area, and I mean, it just opens up a brand new world of stuff that wasn't even in there. I mean, it does a great job.
Yeah. And you're still muffled just a little bit, kind of still sound like you're in the background. Just make sure that you're up on your phone. I'm using my 6 on my Equinox right now, and the reason that I am is because I'm rehunting a few spots and that are really, really trashy that we've kind of bypassed and not hunted because there was so much trash. And I'm really amazed at how that will separate and pick those targets out. And I actually dug a shoulder scale, not the whole thing now, just one of the little pieces. I dug one of those at 8 inches with that 6-inch coil. So that's saying something about the coil. I mean, it gets depth, doesn't it?
Yes, sir, it sure does. I mean, I can probably dig a couple coins, depending on the size, from 6 to 7 inches. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's Mike, I'm like you. I think that Nocta Macro is not far away from at least making a smaller coil for that, because I think that given my choice, and I want to get your thoughts on this, but given my choice, I would rather have a stock coil, which is normally about an 11, and then I'd like to have like a 5 or a 6. Rather than going to a 14 or a 17. What's your thoughts on that?
I agree 100%. Matter of fact, I messaged Dalik the other day begging her for a 6-inch coil. I said, when are you coming out with a coil?
Yeah.
He said, they're coming out maybe this spring. So I'm hoping I'm ready for that smaller coil.
I tell you what, isn't she a character?
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, if she's the perfect face for Nocta Macro. That's all I got to say. I mean, her drive for the company it's a good company.
It is.
I mean, they're going to, I can tell you right now, if they keep it up on their path they're on, they're going to leave these other companies behind. They're going to be playing catch up.
I've said
if
that.
They don't start getting, yes, yeah. I agree with that, and I believe that 100%.
And we've had her on before, and I love the philosophy of the company, because they talk to the user. They want to know. In fact, the Simplex was a little bit late coming out because there were things that the people that were trying them out, using the prototypes, there were things that they wanted. And so rather than just go ahead with production, they stopped production and fixed the things that the people that were using the prototypes wanted. And they want to hear from the consumer. They want to know what the people that have got boots on the ground and coils on the ground, what do you want, And that's a winning philosophy, isn't it?
I tell you what, we come out with a video. It's been about 6 or 7 videos ago, and it come up. I think the name of the video was maybe Simplex's biggest issue or something like that. But it was really cold that one day. And we did a video, and I was disgusted with the video. I was just starting to use the Simplex, and I got a little disgusted with it. And, I got a message on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, crap, who's this? And I realized who it was. I was like, oh, okay. So, I'm thinking she's going to say, could you please take that video down? But she's no. She said, we got to get this fixed. We want to figure out what's wrong. And that impressed me so much.
I know. And what was the problem again that you were having that she said that she was going to address?
Well, see, what happened was it was kind of my fault, but the book says, you can store this detector around 20 degrees down into the maybe -5. Well, we went on a detecting trip, and we had all of our gear in the back of a pickup truck with a cover over it. It had a nice cover. It wasn't like it was exposed to the element. So it was probably down around that 20-degree mark. And when I got to the spot, the detector would not even pick a penny up at 2 inches. Wow. And now, like a week later, when I went back out with the same detector, same coil, everything was perfectly fine. So, I learned a lesson, now I make sure when we're traveling, I store it properly. I don't put it in the back of the bed of the truck, even though it wasn't exposed to the elements, so I put that on my shoulders as my fault.
Yeah. And it could have been, when batteries get cold, they don't work as well.
Exactly.
It may not have been a function, with machine. But you got to be impressed that she reached out to you and says, we're going to get this fixed.
I was very shocked. She told me that a lot of times the only way they can really test coldness is by putting them in freezers, because it don't get really that cold where she's at. So I was like, oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
But yes, I was very impressed that, somebody of her caliber would see our puny little video at the time. You know what I mean? It really blew me away.
Well, she is very, very engaged. And I said it a year ago, whenever when they brought out the Amphibio, they gave us one of those to give away. They've given us a couple of Simplexes that we've given away, and we may have given away a couple of Amphibios. I can't even remember now. But she is very hands-on, and I said a year ago, whenever I got a chance to know her and talk to her and have her on the show and have her call in and everything, I started telling everybody, all of these other manufacturers probably need to take notice, because they are fixing to storm the market, because whenever you've got a good product, and when you got a product that you're answering the needs of people that are using those products, and the other, manufacturers may be kind of resting on their laurels. They've had really good success. And as much as I like the Garrett AT Pro, if I could tell Garrett something, they're going to have to, come up with some kind of new technology, some kind of new design, because the AT Pro is a great machine. There's no doubt about it. It is a great machine. But then you go to the AT Gold and you go to the AT Max, they all look the same. I mean, it's all the same housing and shaft and everything. I just think that they need to come up with a whole new look and a whole new design and new circuitry and otherwise, we see it. We see what the Equinox has done, and we see what the Simplex has done, and those to me are the two top detectors right now that are selling.
Well, I told my buddies, I said, to me, the Simplex is $1,000 machine trapped in a $335 body. With all the add-ons that you have with that machine, it's just amazing that, you could have all that in a $335 machine.
I know it. And waterproof and wireless.
Exactly.
I mean, there's just so many things right there.
USB adaptable where you can upgrade it. Everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it is really good. Hey, when you guys get out and hunt, Jordan, what kind of spots are you guys really looking for? What's your go-to spot if you could pick?
Honestly, our bread and butter right now seems to be old home sites. We use a map called Gaia, and it shows us pretty much where old home sites are. So we just ask permission for them, and I mean, they seem to be our bread and butter. I mean, silver coins, old buckles. I mean, you name it, they got it. And it just seems like a cheat code being able to see old home sites from, the 1800s. So that's kind of our bread and butter.
Now, that program, is it bringing up then the topographical maps, the old topographical maps?
Yes, it pretty much brings up topographical locations and everything. But just satellite image too. I mean, it's got a couple different layers that you can use on it. I mean, you kind of just pick and tell it what to do, and it's got it. So, I mean, just so many different sources of information in it.
Now, how about accuracy on that? Is it pretty accurate? I mean, are you walking really close to the site whenever you've got it? And I trust that you're doing this on your smartphone, right?
Yes. And that's a great question. I know a lot of people is going to question the accuracy, because I know I did there for the longest time. But it all fixed itself whenever me and Dad went out probably 3 weeks ago, and it showed us where our old home site was. And as I'm sure all you guys know, you put your detector on all metal mode or whatever you have, and it showed our location right on top of the home site, and that's whenever we started hitting iron, finding old square nails and everything like that. It was pinpoint.
That's great. I tell you, I've done overlays and things back in the day where I would take an old map, and I want to talk more about it. We've got a commercial break coming up here in about 30 seconds, but I did overlays there for a while, and using GPS coordinates and everything on Google Earth, and I would be as much as a quarter of a mile off. I was really, really surprised that it wasn't any closer. And then I started using another program that I'll talk about in a minute, and I'll ask you if you've used it. But let me go to this commercial break, and we'll get right back with Mike and Jordan Keefer, the AquaLand Relic guys. You know, T-shirts are a perfect way to get your brand recognized, whether you're talking about a business, a club, a sports team, your YouTube channel, or whatever. But you may have asked, where can I get quality, affordable shirts on demand? Well, I'm glad you asked. RELICS RADIO uses detectors.com for all of our T-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and hoodies. That's detectors.com. Ken and Mark Guthrie make quality shirts that last, they ship quick, and best of all, they're affordable. So if you need customized apparel, then go to detectors.com and be sure and tell them that RELICS Radio sent you. Two great guys right there, Ken and Mark Guthrie with Detectors. And by the way, if you want to get your RELICS Radio T-shirt, hoodie, cooling towel, whatever you want, they've got it. And they carry a lot of other garments as well from other channels and others podcast and everything. Just go and check them out, detectors.com. And Jordan, we're talking about that program, and some of them are asking, what was the name of that mapping program again?
The name of the mapping program was called Gaia. I believe the correct spelling for it is Gaia, and I think it runs anywhere from $23 for a premium position all the way up to $150 for 5 years.
Now, is that a monthly charge that you're paying on that, or are you getting a year subscription, or what?
Dad, I'll ship that over to you because I know you was the one that purchased it. Could you kind of inform them a little bit?
Well, it's regular $40 a month. I mean, a year. I'm sorry, $40 a year. But we have a code that, because we are affiliated with them, so they actually take like $7 off of, I think it is. So you get it for $33 a year. Now you can do a 5-year plan for like $128. But, you know, you got to watch, because I've had a couple people say that in their areas, there's no old maps for them. So, you know, so you got to be careful, I guess, where you're at. Around here, we got solid old maps everywhere. But I guess maybe farther out west you go or farther south you go, there might be some issues. So you just got to be careful. Yeah,
and Ohio Relic Hunter has put the link in the chat. Thanks, Bill. It's GaiaGPS.com.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
Now, what I use is Maprica. And what you do is, and you can use a hand-drawn map, or you can just use a JPEG of a topographical map, bring it in, and then you've actually got two screens, and you've got the topographical map on one side, and then you've got a modern map on the other side, and it lets you have a map, or it lets you, see the like the Google Earth and other old maps and everything. And the more reference points that you can line up, like if you're working a town, like streets that haven't changed. If you're out in the country, creeks and rivers, and where the creeks come into the river. And I've used that. There's no charge for it. The app is actually was made for skiers. And I've been blown away by the accuracy of that. Of course, the accuracy depends on how many reference points that you have on that. But you're right. You have to have the older topographical maps, or all of these apps are useless to you. And I know in my county, the topographical maps go back to 1929. and we can have some old 1800s houses that were still on the map in 1929. But one county up, a friend of mine that I'm hunting with, he lives in the next county, Metcalfe County. I live in Monroe. He lives in Metcalfe. And Metcalfe County, the oldest topographical map that they have is 1954. And so the app's really useless for him because, there's quite a bit of difference between 54 and 29, and finding a turn-of-the-century house even on a 54 map is a little bit challenging, wouldn't you say?
Yes. The best thing that the easiest way to get our maps is if you would go to our latest video. There's a link right there in the descriptions to that video. That makes it easy for everybody, and then you get your discount too. But and without them maps, we would be lost. Honestly, that's like Jordan said earlier. That's definitely our bread and butter.
And that's what everybody has been trying. I mean, that is the key to research, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, other than word of mouth, I like word of mouth also. I mean, you get to around a lot of older people. I learn a lot just listening.
And do you guys, do you do what I do? And that is search out all of the old springs and everything that you can find. They are always good.
Yes, that we look for fords. That map we use, it'll show you actual old fords across creeks and rivers and different things like that. So when you find your fords, if you want to water detect, that's a good area to start.
Yeah, I forget who it was that was working a ford and had found a couple of seeded coins and everything. There's all kind of traffic that have gone through those places. Water is the key. There's no doubt about it. You find some good water and you find good high ground, and you're in the money somewhere somehow.
Yep, I agree.
Jordan, have you guys ever used any other kind of mapping app or program or anything, or have you just used the Gaia?
We're pretty much strictly just Gaia right now. I mean, we haven't found anything to be able to compare with it. I mean, this Gaia is a good source right now, so we're just going to keep going with that until we're proven otherwise.
Yeah. How far do the topographical maps there in Maryland, in your location right there, how far do they go back?
They go back, I think, probably about 1890, maybe 1900.
Well,
somewhere in that range.
So you've got 30 or 40 years on me, and that's, whenever you're talking about that time period, that is a lot right there. But I'm like you. I love the old house sites because, turn of the century house sites. Now, I love the colonial house sites. We just don't have enough of them. But I love the turn of the century house sites because one thing that I really like to find on those is suspender clips. I don't know why I like them so much. And this last Saturday, we got on an old house and I found 2 or 3 suspender clips there. And I was just in hog heaven because I've got hundreds of them, and I don't think I've got no 2 that are just alike.
Well, to speak of accuracy, I wanted to go back.
Okay.
There was me and my buddy and Jordan. We were hunting this house. We got permission, and the mother gave permission. Well, it was almost dark time, and the sun came up. He come up and said, "What you guys doing?" I said, "We're metal detecting." He's like, "Oh, we talked to your mom." I said, "Back on your property, about a mile back, that shows an old home site." He looked at me like, he says, "How'd you know that was there?" I said, "Well, I got this, what they call Gaia maps." He said, "Yeah, there's an old foundation back here." He said, "But it's hardly anything left. A lot of rocks are left and stuff like that." So we took that the following day. We used that map, and it took us right to the front door of that house.
Amazing, isn't it? I
love
it.
So he couldn't believe we knew it. He said, out of everybody that's asked to detect his property, they've never had anybody asked to detect that house.
Yeah. And, that's why, well, it depends on how many detectors that you have in a community. If you don't have too many, well, then you're all right probably. But if there's a lot of people that are detecting in your area, all of the old house sites that are still either still standing, or you've got the chimneys, or you've got some indication that there was a house there, I almost guarantee somebody's already hunted that, and they've already got all the good stuff off of it. Not to say that anything is ever hunted out, because I don't believe that, but whenever you take a map program and you're able to find a house from the late 1800s, early 1900s, that there's no sign, it's just a field, maybe a pasture field, maybe a soybean field, a cornfield. Nobody has hunted that. And, that stuff, as they work the ground and everything, and y'all have more freezes and thaws than we do here in southern Kentucky, and that brings the relics up. I mean, you're just in a bonanza, aren't you?
Yes, and that's what me and Jordan discussed, when this year started. I said, we got to start thinking outside the box. We got to find places that other people haven't detected. And I think we've already hit quite a few spots that we're like, there ain't nobody hit this spot.
It's pretty sweet whenever. And Jordan tore it up in this last video, didn't you, Jordan?
It doesn't happen too often, I'll tell you that, but I sure did. I'm not one to brag, but man, that was definitely one of my best hunts I've had in a while.
And you could just, the excitement, you were just bubbling. It was just running off of you. The excitement was, I got tickled to death, because you had me thinking for just a minute, but, Jordan found a Civil War eagle button, and, it was a general service. And those of you that know about a general service button, from the Civil War, it has a shield in the middle of it, and then it has the marks that go up and down. And when you were looking at it, what did you think you saw on it?
I could have swore to anybody it was an H. I thought it meant like a head commander or something, but man, I guess that was just my adrenaline kicking in. It was, I was sadly mistaken. It was just a general service button. I don't see them too much.
I know it, and I'm so glad that you left that in there. A lot of people would have edited that out. A lot of people would have said, oh, man, I just got too excited, and I shouldn't have done that, But at one point, he said, it may stand for hero. This guy's a hero, and it's got an H on it. And I thought, that is priceless that you guys left that in there. And that's why, I love things like that whenever it happens, spontaneous like that. But, man, you were having a great day. Buttons, bullets, found some old money too, didn't you?
Yes, sir. And I can guarantee you one thing: if I didn't have to leave, I would have stayed there all day. I was finding a little bit of everything that day. What was it, Dad? A large cent, I think I found, and I think we seen like 18, 14 or something on it. But that was by far one of my oldest coins that I've found.
And there's just, I said a while ago, there's nothing like pulling a Civil War bullet out, especially your first, or if you don't have too many. I still remember the first Civil War bullet that I pulled out, and I was just in total shock. I still remember the first large cent that I pulled out, because I hunted about 38 years before I ever found my first large cent. We don't have too many of them. We've got a lot of Spanish reals here, but we don't have many large cents. And I remember
I'll trade you a couple large cents.
Well, the story is that people in the South here didn't trust the coppers. They, of course, Spanish silver was just transitioning out. U.S. silver was starting, and the merchants really didn't trust it. And I think that was probably because one year that on one of the reals, and I can't remember what the name of that real was, Tennessee Jeff found one at a site that we were working, and but the silver weight didn't even match the value that the coin was supposed to be. And they finally had to recall all of those and melt them down, and so that's what made it so rare. But also in the process, it made people in this part of the country skeptic about it and about the value of a coin. And they just didn't think that the copper was worth much. And they thought, the real may not be exactly right, but we still think more of it than we do those coppers and everything. We need to take another commercial break. This will be our last one, and we'll be right back. If you want to keep up with what's going on in the metal detecting world, then you need to be a subscriber to American Digger magazine. Butch and Anita Holcomb are the publishers of the magazine and have won awards for 3 straight years for being the best digger magazine on the market. American Digger magazine is available in both print and digital formats, so no matter where you live in the world, you can enjoy the latest happenings in the hobby. You can get in touch with American Digger magazine by going to americandigger.com or give them a call at 770-362-8671. And be sure and tell them that you heard it on RELICS Radio. And as most of you know, I am the producer and a co-host on American Digger Magazine's Relic Roundup every Monday night with Jeff Lubert and Butch Holcomb. Come over and listen to our program right here on Spreaker. It's at 9 o'clock Eastern. And I have on here tonight Mike and Jordan Keefer of AquaLand Relics, and I'm sorry about cutting the first of that commercial off. You guys don't have any idea what goes on behind the scenes here. I had a device go down that I do my bumper music on, and I've been in the process of trying to talk to y'all and trying to change that, and I got it all changed, but I had muted that channel just in case it went to going off. And I tell you what, too much to handle for one man. There's no doubt. Mm-hmm. Hey, guys.
You're multitasking well.
Do what?
I said you're multitasking well.
Well, I'm getting through it. To be an old man, there's no doubt about it. But it is kind of frustrating sometimes. If I had to go to the bathroom, I'll just tell you guys to keep talking. I'll be back in a minute.
Gotcha.
Out of everything that you find, what is it as far as relics go? And I'm not talking about money, because we all want to find the old silver. We want to find the old coppers and things like that. But as far as relic goes, what's at the top of your list?
Well, I done found the top of my list this year. When I found that eagle breastplate. That was my holy grail right there of finds.
I saw that.
But
and you were
if
excited.
I would have to do something. What's that?
I say you were excited as well.
Just a little bit. I had left the camera up. I wasn't even expecting to find anything, to be honest with you. And when that thing popped out of the hole, I fell over.
I know it. I know it. I've only found one breastplate, and I was just getting. First of all, what did your signal sound like? Was it a good?
It was a 67 solid, and it was 8 inches. And it was a solid hit.
Yeah.
And what I really honestly thought it was, when I first kept digging, I thought it was going to be a can.
Yeah.
I'm down 8 inches going. I'm thinking it's a can. Then I seen it. I was like, oh, that's what I figured it was.
Yeah.
Can. But when I grabbed to hold it and felt the weight, I knew exactly what it was. I just dropped it and took off running.
You didn't jump a tree or anything, did you?
No.
Oh, I tell you, there's just nothing like, knocking something off your list that you've just wanted so bad. And it always, and I think that this is true because I've talked to a lot of people and I've asked this same question to a lot of people, but most of those finds that they just dream about finding, when they have the opportunity and finally find it, it seems like it almost always comes as a surprise. You weren't expecting, you thought you had a can, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Like I said, I didn't even have my camera on me at the time, so I was just out having fun. I had a couple wires to kill, and I was just out having fun.
Well, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but at the first of that video clip there, you're running back in, and I suspect what I thought was he didn't have his camera with him. He's gone back and got his camera, and he's coming back to film that. Was that the way it worked out?
Exactly. I was coming down from the vehicle right when I started recording.
And you were there by yourself then?
Unfortunately, Jordan was working, and I found it on his birthday. I had stayed home, and, we had a little bit of a surprise, figured out for him. And so I had a little bit of time in between that, and I was by myself. That's usually when it happened.
Yep. I found my first large sand. I was by myself, and my jaw fell open, and I just turned around, and I could see that big green disc in the bottom of the hole. And then whenever I finally felt how thick it was, I knew I had a large sand. I mean, there wasn't no doubt about it. And I went to looking around, and I'm way back in. Well, I was actually back in 5 Mile Holler whenever I found it. And I'm looking back, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna call some coyotes or some turkeys or something. Somebody's got to be here with me. This is a momentous moment right here.
That's what I told my wife. I said, if anybody would have heard me before I got that camera, they would have thought I was nuts.
Yeah, call the law. They say, I don't know what's going on over there, but somebody's in bad shape. Somebody's dying over there. Hey, Jordan, what have you found that's done you that way?
Honestly, Dad was saying that he's never found a infantry button from the Civil War, so I made it a personal goal to go up and try to find one of them. And I know he's jealous to this day because he never thought I was going to find one. But not only did I find one, but I found two almost right next to each other. So you best believe I was rubbing that in Dad's face.
I saw that, and that's in your last video, isn't it?
That's correct, sir.
Yeah. And those buttons were in really good shape. They really were. But then Mike found a button that I want, and I should have found one because I hunted DIV a couple of years ago at the New York camp. And Mike, what button did you find?
Well, I found a New York State seal button.
Oh,
it was nice and golden gilded, but that was my second one. And then Jordan later on in the video popped one. So we ended up finding 2 New York State seal buttons that day. So we did an excellent job.
Well, a couple of years ago, up on that New York Camp Hill, and Denny Morrison, he's in here. He knows what I'm talking about. That hill, I tell you what, it was a struggle just to get to the top of that, especially for us old men trying to walk up that. I got up there, I said, I ain't coming down till I'm done because I ain't walking back up again till tomorrow. But they were digging New York buttons all around me, and I just could not get one. And I didn't get one, and I'm still looking for that. I do have one of the rarest state buttons, and that's a Kentucky State seal button. Let me tell you something about the New York button that you may not know. Is yours complete? Does it have the back and the shank and everything?
Mine did. Jordan's did also.
Okay. They have paper inside up under that, and it was to keep that dome up. And that's what a lot of times will cause those buttons to disintegrate. I didn't know that until I was hunting that New York camp, and there was a guy up there, a young man, Austin. I can't remember Austin Cooper, and he found one, and they were talking about it. He said, they got paper in them, and I said, no, and he said, yeah. He said, under the dome, to keep that dome up, they've got paper in them, and he said that's what that. If they leak and they get water, that water absorbs in there, and he said that's what disintegrates those buttons. And so you're very lucky that you found the buttons, the way they are. But, man, they have got the gold gilt on them, don't they?
Oh, yes. And I think Jordan's was only just barely underneath the leaves when he found his.
Maybe 2 inches.
Yeah, it was really close to the top.
And I'm putting trying to get the call-in number on here, 270-495-0315. If you want to call in and talk to either Mike or Jordan or myself or whatever, call in, 270-495-0315. Hey, Jordan, what do you think that you should have found that you haven't found yet?
Honestly, with all the snorkeling that I do and the known area that we're in here in Maryland, with all the historic battles and everything, I'm surprised I haven't found a rifle yet, or a pistol, or some Civil War weaponry, or even a cannonball at least. That's kind of at the top of my list right now.
Yeah. And what are you guys snorkeling? What, rivers and stuff? Shallow rivers?
Buddy, I'll snorkel a river, a pond, a pool. I'll snorkel anything if you tell me there's treasure in there.
I'm the same way. I sure am. I love water hunting in the summer, don't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't like the cold too much. Neither does my body. But, you give me a hot, 90-degree day, I'll stay in the water.
And we've got a call that has come in. I don't have it in my system. The last four numbers are 7126. Who have we got?
You got Kyle.
Okay, Kyle. Make sure that you turn the show down in the background because we're getting an echo off of it. But welcome to the show. Have you got a question?
Yeah, I got a question for Jordan.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was wondering, why did you decide to do YouTube in the beginning? I think you kind of answered it, but I was more interested in why, you in particular.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, Kyle. Everybody laughs at me whenever I wanted to start YouTube, and it took me a while to find my niche, but man, I just had a dream, and I just like making people happy, people smile and everything. And, that's kind of why I started, just to brighten people's day up.
And Kyle, I'm still getting feedback off of you. Are you playing the show on something?
No, sir.
I don't know why we're getting that feedback then, but we're getting a repeat. Good question,
okay.
though. Did you have another question that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, sure. This one's for Mike, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
So, you talked about your, biggest finds. What was your, in recent year, your least impressive find that you just didn't even want to put in a YouTube video?
I don't know. Well, we did plenty of stuff that, that's what people don't understand. That a lot of people look at our videos and think, wow, metal detection's pretty easy. Look at what all they find. But, a lot of people don't realize that, to do that one video, we might dig 100 and some holes to get 10 things on video. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make video because it's just total trash.
Dang.
Yeah, and Kyle, where are you located at?
I'm located up in Frederick, Maryland.
Okay. And obviously, I guess that you are a hunter, but do you have a YouTube channel yourself?
I do not. But I follow these guys on the regular, though.
Yeah, you're thinking about doing it, though, aren't you?
It's a possibility. I'm not going to lie. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, you're not too far away from us, buddy. We might just have to stop down and take you for a hunt.
A little collab, maybe.
There you go. That's an open door right there. If I was anywhere,
I'm up for it.
If I was anywhere near close, I would. Let me give you a suggestion, Kyle, on that. Just have fun with it. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about the subscribers. Don't worry about the number of views that you have. Just do what you want to do. Make the best video that you can, and you'll go back someday and look at the first ones that you do, and you'll say, man, that was terrible. I know. I do mine. But it will get – am I right, Mac?
Yes, I had to laugh because I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and you'll go back and you'll look at them and you'll say, man, that was terrible. But that's you, and that's what you're finding. And don't hold off to do a video until you find a breastplate or a large cent or a Spanish real. Record what you do. And the reason that I say that is eventually you're going to have, you'll have family, you'll have kids, you'll have grandkids, you'll have great-grandkids. I've got all of those things. and you're leaving a legacy of what you find. And so you're successful at doing that. Don't worry about all of the drama that Facebook and YouTube and all of that brings into it. Just go out there and have fun and record what you do, and be satisfied with it. Continue to do the best job that you can, and you'll learn. And, get with guys like this. I'd jump on that. I'd go over and hunt with Mike and Jordan, and you'll learn something about how they are doing their video, in the field and everything.
Sounds like a plan. I'm interested now. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. And you will love it. I mean, it just brings in an all new perspective to it. And then you'll be surprised at the little things that you find that don't have, they're not jaw-dropping finds, but they got a lot of history behind them. And whenever you go to look and you pull something out of the ground and then you say, I want to find the history out about this. I do that in my videos. I include history clips. And it makes the worst relic that you can find, it makes it interesting because you have a little bit of history. I'm talking about hair braids, and I've done history clips on just about everything, spoons and everything, All of it has an interesting history if you just look at it and try to go in there and find it.
Right.
And appreciate the call, really do, and best of luck. And hopefully you guys will hook up.
Yeah, I'm gonna be happy.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks
I'll
for
leave
the
a comment.
Okay, thanks for the call then. Yeah. And guys, phone lines are still open, 270-495-0315. Kyle is a first-time caller there, and I love that whenever people... people, I think, are a little apprehensive sometimes to call into the show. Now, some people are not. Some people are regular callers. But, I love for people to call in and share theirs. But, yeah, Jordan, you'll attest to it. Are your videos better now than they were when you first started?
Absolutely. I look at some of the old videos, and I'm just like, man, I could have did this there. I could have, edit this out. And I'm my own biggest critic whenever it comes to editing.
Well, you're not by yourself. Every one of us do exactly the same thing. We're all, our own worst critics. You hate to hear yourself talk. You hate to see yourself. And then you're critiquing everything that you do. But you guys are doing a really good job. And I said I was going to do this. Their link, it is AquaLand Relics on YouTube. Their link is in the description. I want to challenge everybody here. Go and subscribe to them and tell your friends. And watch some of their videos. You'll be impressed. That's how I got them on the show. I watched some of their videos, and I liked what they did. They are genuine people, and, they were fun to watch, and I knew that they would be fun to have on the show as well. And speaking of regular callers, we got Denny Morrison coming on the line. What's going on tonight, Denny?
Hey, was you sitting there waiting on me?
I was sitting there waiting on you, yeah. And
I want to ask these boys, did they ever start out with plat maps before they went to this fangled dangle where you got to pay thing?
How about it, Mike?
I messed with it. I messed with a little bit of plat maps, but not very much. I like it right up to my fingertips. I like the dangle-fangled just stuff.
Well, I've got 5 counties here in Ohio where I'm at from the 1800s, and I swear if you boys were here, you'd never find it all. Never.
I bet.
I've been hunting for 37 years.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem, Denny. I know you've got an unlimited source of research information in those plat maps. There's no doubt about it. But it's the point that Mike or Jordan, I can't remember which one made it there a while ago. I think it was Mike. That, a lot of these counties don't even have the topographical maps that go past, I said the adjoining county to me, 1954. And so that's not much of a resource. We have no plat maps. We have none of the Sanborn insurance maps, none. I mean, because we live in the sticks here, and just to have a topographical map is something. But yes, if you've got plat maps, that is a valuable resource. You'll never hunt those out, will you, Denny?
Never. And that's where Mike Spicer hunts all the time. He uses those plat maps, and he hunts along rivers. That's where he found that Virginia plate at.
Yeah. And by the way, when he posts a picture of some of his finds, he puts it on a plat map, doesn't he? Is he the one that's doing that?
Yep. Yes, he does.
Yep.
Yeah, and sometimes I do too. Yep. Pretty cool.
Mike or Jordan, either one, do you guys ever research in the library for old maps that might be in books or, in local history and stuff like that?
I don't necessarily go to the library, but I've been finding most of my information just comes from the internet now. I mean, I search up, Civil War insights and everything, but I know Dad, he likes to go to the library, and he likes to pull out a book or two every now and then.
Yeah.
I've found on the internet maps, which usually are for sale, you get a better map out of an old book, out of a library, than you'll ever get off the internet. That just don't show the detail of a plat map in a library or a museum.
Well, sometimes that is the case and sometimes it's not. I mean, some of the topographical maps now that they're coming out with are really, really, better than they were, more detail and everything. And you don't always have to pay for those maps. A lot of times you do, and I never have bought a map on the internet. But it's all a matter of just going in there and researching and finding everything that you can, and then nothing beats boots on the ground, though, does it, Jordan?
No, sir. I mean, that's the best way to do it. I mean, you got to get out there and find it.
And go ahead, Mike.
We did a video. We did a video there a couple months ago. We was up in the middle of the woods. We knew there was some Civil War stuff there. We had found some bullets, but we come across. Jordan found a double axe head, and I found a Tootsie car, and it was out in the middle of the woods. A couple, maybe 100 yards away from that, Jordan finds a pistol. That is a kid's pistol. So this is out in the middle of the woods. Nothing around us. There's no old home sites. It's in the area. So it's just kids that was out in the woods playing.
Yeah.
So, and I made the statement on that video, we always get people ask you, where can we find this? Where can we find that? Sometimes just get out and start detecting, just go wherever you got permission to go and do it.
Right, because people have walked almost every inch of this old world that we live on, and
exactly.
And whenever they walk, they're jumping over logs or they're jumping over a ditch or something, and climbing a tree, get an apple or something other. They're losing stuff, constantly losing stuff, and so yeah, and
I got a question, Loy.
Okay, go ahead.
Do these fellas look at the land, and can you? I mean, if I was going over a bridge, I'd be, especially in your area, Maryland, I would be looking for picket posts, and the same thing in Kentucky. That's what I would be looking for. Do you look at the lay of the land on where something might be? I mean, if I was by a creek and I saw a hill, I would think a house or a log cabin was on that hill. And if I saw posies out in the middle of the field, I'd think there might have been a house here. That's the things I look for.
Yes, we do the same thing. We got a couple videos out where we just found some spring flowers out in the middle of the woods. And, we made sure we brought that out to people that, hey, these don't just grow here naturally. This was planted here at one point in time. Or, you're in a field and the field's going downhill, then you get a nice flat spot in that field. And I'm thinking, okay, let's go over and hit this area. It definitely could have been a home site here.
And
lay of the land definitely pays.
Yeah, and sometimes it's good to just set back. I mean, I know you're heading to the site, and one that you've already found, you're going to go back and you've hunted it and you found a little bit of stuff. But sometimes just stop, sit down, survey the land, look at the land and everything, And you'd be surprised what you will see. And just think about it a little bit. If I just walked into this land and I'm a pioneer, where am I going to build my house? I want water, so I'm going to be by a creek, a river, a spring. A spring is the best. I want to get on high ground because I don't want my house to flood. And there's just a lot of things that you look for. Y'all were talking about spring flowers. Right now is the time to search for that. And Jordan, I guess that's what you use your drone for, but it's out of commission, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of a touchy subject. I mean, I'm no pilot, nor do I claim to be, but yeah, my drone took a little beating there over the previous week, so it's getting repaired right now.
Yeah, but do you use that to scout with?
Oh, most definitely. Like if we're in a thicket or something, and I just want to see what's up ahead, and I don't want to waste my time, I scan the area, I put the drone up in the air, and I'm like, all right, well, right up here's a field or whatever. Let's go check this place out. So it definitely does come in handy.
And you're seeing things from a perspective that you can't see from the ground. And you're seeing how everything, kind of, it's a big puzzle is what it is. And you're just able to look at a broad view of that from above. And you'd really be surprised, a lot of times. But right now, those yellow flowers would stick out like a sore thumb in the brown woods right now. I mean, we're starting to see them. Right now is the time to scout. In fact, Saturday, me and the guy are going to hunt a spot, and he spotted the daffodils there, and he walked up there and looked at it, and he said, "There's a big spring right there at it." And so I said,
"Wow,
there's a house there, I guarantee you." And so that's what we're going to check out Saturday. But yeah, there's just so many things that that newcomers to this hobby don't realize that you have to do in order to be successful. But you're not always going to be successful, are you?
Well, there's many a times that we actually go out and we'll never turn the camera on at all, So it's not always fun and games, Some days we come back skunked.
Yep.
I mean, that's just part of the hobby.
Yep. We're all in the same boat. In fact, part of the reason that I had a video out this last Tuesday. It was my first video to come out in 2020, and I was putting one out every Tuesday. And part of the reason is I wasn't finding anything. I mean, I was driving an hour and a half to hunt places, and I wasn't finding anything. I mean, I never maybe pulled out my camera for one iron relic or something, and you can't make a video out of that. And I just wasn't finding anything. And so it's changed a little bit. Things have opened up a little bit, and I'm able to hunt a little bit now. But yeah, right now, look for anything that is out of place.
Hey, Loy.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, I found that flying eagle penny and that mercury dime in a field and many other artifacts and relics. I went back that same darn field this last week. It was 51 degrees out with a 30-mile-an-hour wind. It was like freezing out there. The ground was so dry. Now, that first week it was sort of wet, but the ground was so dry this time, all I could pick up was horse tack, which is all I found was rivets.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get a good signal for anything else, and that little change in your ground conditions make a big difference.
You're exactly right. And you can, one day you can go out one day and find stuff, and go out the next day and not find anything. Go back to the exact spot the next day, and as conditions change, the signals change. Me and Tennessee Jeff found that one time. In Middle Tennessee, right outside of Gallatin there. We was hunting an old house, and we just wasn't finding much at all, and there was a storm coming up. You could hear the thunder way in the background. And as that front came through and that cool air, now it hadn't started raining or anything, but as that cool air, and it's in the summertime, as it rushed through, signals just went to popping. And I don't have it, I don't know what the answer is to that. Mike, Jordan, have you guys ever had that happen to you?
Well, Jordan, he's a fair weather kind of detectorist. I'm like, it could be thunder and lightning. Jordan's like that. I'm not taking my camera out there. But yeah, I mean, I like it when the ground is soaking wet myself. Right after a rainfall, that's my favorite time to be out there.
Yeah.
Seems like I get my best conducting signals that way.
Now, weather-wise, do you guys have a real rough winter that kind of shuts your hunting down, or what's the situation there with weather?
We've kind of got lucky this year. I mean, we had, I don't know, maybe about 2 foot of snow last year, but this year we haven't got an inch of snow, so I don't know. I mean, we've been blessed this year with good weather. I mean, shoot, this whole next coming week is supposed to be 60 degrees up in Maryland, so we're going to do a lot of detecting then. But, yeah, I mean, the weather, it's weird.
Well, we've had a warm winter ourselves down here. It's been wet. It's one of the wettest that we have had. And but, you know, it's been warm as well, so...
Loy, has Mike and Jordan ever hunted George Washington's route through the Cumberland?
I don't know. Asked them there. Have you?
Well, we've been down close, you know, when he was a surveyor. There's
Right.
a couple places down here that he had surveyed, and we've actually been in that area. We haven't found anything George Washington, so to say, but yes, we've been close to his area. Plus, just right across from here.
His campsites are like every 16 miles apart.
Right. Well, right across the bridge here, he's actually got, there's a plaque there. Of course, you can't hunt it, but it was his, they call it his bathtub, that he was basically taking baths there a couple different times. There was a spring there and stuff like that. But, yeah, we've detected around his area, but we haven't really found anything George Washington, so to say.
I mean, that road is so historical, the old Route 40 going through there. But there has to be other sites there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
there is.
I would think so, too. And that brings up a question that I've got. I was going to ask it earlier, and I just never did get around to it. But are y'all have the opportunity to find any Revolutionary War stuff in your area there?
I found a button, but it didn't have any kind of military insignia on it. But it was definitely a pewter button. I can't say it was Revolutionary War, but it was probably close to that time frame.
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking about was even War of 1812 or anything. You guys hadn't got on any of those sites?
No, sir, we haven't.
There should be some of those in your area, I would think. I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah, but there should be some War of 1812 stuff there. In fact, if I... You know, in the process, you guys are obviously doing well on research, because I watch your videos and you're finding a lot of Civil War stuff and turn of the century stuff and things like that on the old house sites. But I would kind of tuck it in the back of my mind to do a little bit of War of 1812 research in my area, because we don't have much here. I mean, if we've got any War of 1812 stuff, it's probably something that a soldier brought home. And but they should be some activity in your area there.
Yeah, I was telling Jordan, I said that would really help us out if we could get into the colonial stuff and the Revolutionary War stuff. So, yeah, we're probably going to expand that way here real soon.
Yeah.
Well, Mike or Jordan, where George Washington camped, they probably camped there for the War of 1812 also. I just don't doubt it at all if it was near a creek, and one of his campsites is near a creek. Well, several of them. So,
well, I'd say most.
Throw that out.
I'd say most all of them are. Yeah.
Yep. In fact, Fort Necessity is in actually a swamp ground. So.
Yep.
That's where George Washington lost all of his men. The only man really not to be killed was George Washington, because he was an officer.
Yeah.
You ever been to Fort Necessity?
No, don't ring a bell.
No, sir.
Man.
It doesn't really ring a bell to us.
It's right in Maryland, boys. See, I go to Virginia twice a year, whether I need it or not, and I take Route 40 across, and several times we've taken the old route back, and it's just history after history. A lot of way stations on that route. Huh?
I agree with you there. There's definitely a lot of history around.
Now, how far are you guys out of Baltimore?
About 120 miles west of Baltimore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're getting on west, and if you were 120 miles east of Baltimore, it'd probably be more advantageous for you as far as historical things. But you're still in a great area. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Hey, Denny, thanks for the call tonight, buddy. Appreciate it.
All righty, buddy.
All right.
Yep.
Talk to you later. And before we get off here tonight, Mike, you and Jordan, I want you to let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. Give me all of your YouTube, your Facebook, and all of that, and your parting comments and what have you.
Well, the easiest way is, like you said earlier, if you just Google us on YouTube, just AquaLand, one word, Relics. And then we pretty much have all the links to our Facebook on the descriptions of the video. We have an Instagram account where it's AquaLand_Relics. I mean, everything to do with us is going to be AquaLand Relics. It's funny because when we first started out, you Google AquaLand Relics, there was nothing. Now when you Google it, it'll fill up a couple different pages. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're getting known. And did we miss anything? Did we touch on everything that you guys wanted to talk about tonight?
For the most part, I know Dad's looking at a book right now, so let's see if he's got everything checked off. It looks like he does.
Well, I told Mark from Teleco that I would give a shout out.
I lost you there, Mike.
I said, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I lost Jordan was who I lost.
Well, he's been using my phone because he said his was having an issue, so he just got it on my phone.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, like I said, we're affiliated with Teleco and Gaia GPS. So, we just wanted to give a shout out to them so people can hear their names mentioned.
Okay. Okay. I appreciate you guys being on the show. Anything else?
Well, it's been a privilege talking to you. I enjoyed talking to you. I don't know what Jordan might want to say.
Yeah, it's definitely been a privilege, and it's definitely an experience. I thank you guys for your time, and if you're still here, thank you guys.
Yeah. I appreciate both of you taking your time out and coming on the show here tonight. It's always a pleasure. Hang on the line, and we'll say our goodbyes off the air, and I'm going to go ahead and close the show, and I'll be back with you in just a minute, okay?
All righty, thank you.
Okay. Hey, thanks, guys and gals, for tuning in to RELICS Radio tonight. I really appreciate you coming in and supporting the show. I was hoping tonight that we would reach that January record. We had 5 Thursdays in January. We've only got 4 here in February, but I was looking at the numbers this week, and if we pull in enough listeners or downloads, there's a possibility that we could tie that record, and that'd just be great. And that's you. It's not anything to do with me. That's all you and your interest in metal detecting and what have you. Be sure and come back next Thursday night and join me here on RELICS Radio. And then be sure and catch us Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern on American Digger's Relic Roundup. Right here on Spreaker, all of it is. And so I'll see you either Monday or Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on RELICS Radio. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and join us live every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern here on Spreaker. Or you can catch the archive show at RELICS Radio on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Apple Podcast, and many other podcast outlets. RELICS Radio is also syndicated on the Cutting Edge Radio Network and is broadcast around the world. Please take a minute and hit the like button and be sure and follow us so that you get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. Be sure and visit Diggin with 7 on YouTube and check out the RELICS Radio Facebook group page. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to relicsradio@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you. And we hope that you'll join us next Thursday night. Until then, get out there and dig some history.